Community. So today it's about emotion, or better said, emotion to difference. It's the awe feel. So yeah. I love to view the illusion while smooth sometimes like a supernova of one I crave. Don't you see my legs, a shimmer of waves to come by, wash your feet, let it go on, just to be to a temperature of forest? Well, an Aphrodite. Oh yeah, I mean, we're not made for each other. The other, well. So, what is an emotion? Why? Well, something of circular reason to a fundamental dogma by premise in melody. Like, no universal call to arc, or an arc, or a arc. Meaning, emotion are a phrasing kinda like miracles. Like, it's kinda like miracles, because life is a miracle, that something exists from something that could have not existed or doesn't exist before. That's a miracle. So emotions are a phrasing of this kind of, like, if you view emotions as something that is not too well explainable, but to a certain degree, you have the same reflection of a miracle, and it's a miracle nonetheless because emotions are not created in every way. You always feel some emotions, so they are kind of like a miracle. Therefore, my definition, emotion is the value to self by non-harm, but maybe love. So what do we mean by this? Well, emotion as a value to the self is definitely, certainly, something you do because you like yourself. You express emotions because you tend to focus and value your conscious like something, not more, not less, but you value your conscious. That's why they can be non-harm, but maybe love, unless love is harm to you. So that's basically just the definition of emotion. So something of circular reason to a fundamental dogma by premise means, again, like, you can't really have an emotion against life if you didn't create it by basic. It's very unusual. Maybe, but not in a meridian or the base state in essence. I believe, I'm not sure, but I believe that, not in something. It depends. Yeah. Definitely. I mean, that really depends. I mean, emotions are something you don't believe in, but you have them regardless, even if you would believe in them or not believe in them. They're pretty cool. So it's a fundamental dogma by premise, meaning if you believe that life is something that is good and is treasurable or valuable in any way, you basically have already the premise for emotion, and then you can circular reason around it to reason for your emotion. But that really always comes back to the same idea. It's an emotion, so, well, for that you always can just fundament your emotional ideas on the dogma of life or any premise that you found in a dogma, because otherwise it's logical fallacy. It's no universal call to an arch or arc. Well, this is difficult. Yeah, I mean, it kind of is. Because the arch, I mean, is an archetype, but not really. It can also be an arc, like a Ark of Noah, or an arch like something that is like an archer, or even just something that sits on top of something like an architecture. Meaning, it's not universal call to anything that's abstracted. You literally don't need to phrase your emotion towards something, but it's kind of rephrasing something. So that's basically the whole fundamental ideas for this video. So now we come to feel, UZ. So there I put some flames, because feels are flames, eh? So it's a cause of howling in emotion in my mind. That's where you actually phrase your emotions. Yeah, like you phrase your emotion to something, right? You howl basically like a wolf to the moon, and therefore basically you you further develop your emotion like a wolf howling. It gets lost in its desires and its instincts, just like the emotion. Emotion can overtake you. So it's also called to a higher being, but not God. It's yourself. Yourself, as in a higher being, state of being. That's what you do while you howl. Definitely. Definitely. Like if you howl to something, yeah, I just need to think for a second. If you howl to something, you basically put yourself in a state where you will regard something in a higher plane. And if you view emotion as something that is howling, which I will define in a second, why that is the case again, then that's definitely causing to a higher being, even if it's just the moon. So it's lust for justice in a sense. But way more important, emotions, if you view them as howling, you really have one fundamental problem, and that's a real big one, which is that the howling towards something you kind of view as flying around in your sense of self and in the viewpoints that you have and your vision and so forth, you basically already choose something before you howl at it, just like a wolf. The wolf doesn't howl to the moon because it likes the moon or something, it howls because of its instinct. So, it's a lust for justice. Justice for your own desires. Thus, my that I am to incarnate of be I bewilder. Yeah. So, the awe emotion, Z. 1. Awe. What is it in respect to something? Emotion in spell. The thought expressed. Right? It's in spelling, it's in some phrasing, it's the thought expressed. You have an emotion in spell, meaning emotion in spell is something like an awe, and then you express a thought in something like an emotion, which is a thought, in a word that you put out in either a sigh, a whisper, or in your mind, or even the spoken word. Then the awe emotion, what is it? It guides a type to my idea and reverence. Meaning, from this there can come a lot of ideas, and it's self-serving nonetheless. The awe emotion can be reflected and valued maybe even easier than other emotions. More easily, whatever. So the guide is a type to that. And why is that the case? Because the awe emotion is an idea you have as the basics of emotion. If emotion is correct in its definition that we put forth, which is this one. A secular reason to fundamental dogma by premise, and not a universal call to arch, but rather rephrasing, kind of like miracles, meaning value to self, but non-harm. And for that, it would be a guide to an idea. The idea of the emotion itself. It would be circular reasoning in reverence, which is the dogma to life. Thank you for listening.